Becoming a rookie in the NRL isn't always a straight line. Some start out as teenage sensations like Reece Walsh or Payne Haas. Others may take a little bit longer to develop, like Cody Walker or Jamal Fogarty. But I tell you what, in 2024, we have some cracking rookies looking to get their shot. So let's have a look at them. Hello and welcome back to the channel, guys. It's good to be back in 2024. My name is Burgz, and today we are going to be looking at the top 10 rookies for 2024, in my humble opinion. Now, it's not to say that these guys are guaranteed starts, but at their clubs, these blokes are looking to get an opportunity, and I believe it could come up trumps in 2024. Last year, we had so many emerging rookies that came through. Will Warbrick, Jareem Buller, Sunir Taruva, and Jacob Preston, just to name a few. Now, as a rookie, you have to have played less than 5 games of NRL to qualify for the Rookie of the Year award. And some of these guys have played a lot of reserve grade football prior to getting what I believe will be their shot this year. But first, let's get on to a few honourable mentions. First up, we have Harrison Hassett from the Penrith Panthers. Now, this guy played under 19s New South Wales last year and is an absolute beast at his position. I do not think he'll get a start this year, but if there's a few injury troubles out at Penrith, guarantee that Harrison Hassett could be looked at as one of the guys to step up in those positions. The next one I have here is Ethan Sanders from the Parramatta SG Bullside. Also played under 19s New South Wales State of Origin last year and was absolutely electric in that game. Scored 2 tries. I tell you what, if Moses or Dylan Brown go down, this kid could step into that role pretty efficiently and do it quite well. Got a great kicking game. I love the cut of his jib. Next up is probably the most exciting guy for our honourable mentions, Josh Papali'i. Now, this guy, I'm not sure where he's going to fit into the Dogs team at this point, but he is an exciting talent, absolutely electric, can play fullback and 5'8". I just think he's a little bit too far away at this stage with, the signings of Bronson Jerry and Stephen Crichton and the like. Blake Taff is there as well, which makes the fullback position very clustered there, as it wasn't really last year for the Dogs, where they had Hayes Perham, a mixture of different styles. Avarillo played there for a bit. It's just a bit of a mess at the moment, and I think that Josh may have to wait another year in Queensland Cup to get his shot, but no doubt he is going to be absolutely stunning when he turns up. All right, guys, let's get into this list. I am so excited to talk about these top 10 guys. And at number 10, we have Latu Fu from the West Tigers. Now, Latu, while he's only 18 at this stage, he has an enormous football brain. Latu's a very interesting piece for the Tigers to get this year. He's 18 at this stage in his career. Unbelievable as to what he's achieved so far. None of it, though, however, in the NRL, yet to play an NRL game, which is understandable for a guy who is turning 19 in May this year. An unbelievable playmaker. He also has a lot of speed, and in that halves positions this year for the West Tigers, I worry a little bit, and that means opportunity for Latu. If Jaden Sullivan and Caesar don't really click right away, they try maybe a Brandon Wakeham again, and it doesn't really work out, Latu could be the guy for the future for the Tigers, and I think that they will want to put him in, or Benji will be itching to put him in. Not saying that he plays a lot like a young Benji, but he's got the footwork, he's got the playmaking ability, and a bit of flair about him as well. The family as well is a great footballing family. Unfortunate to see what happened to their brother Manasi Fainu, but Samuela will also join Latu at the West Tigers this year and unfortunately misses out with the 5 games of NRL played. So unfortunately, he will not qualify for the Rookie of the Year award. But at number 10, Latu Fainu, I think it could be a good year for him. Next up here at the number 9 spot, I have Ben Takura from the Brisbane Broncos. And I've got one word to describe this bloke: monster. I'm telling you, Ben Takura is one of the best young prospects on the market at the moment, and the Broncos will be looking to lock him up for a long period of time. Played a full season of Queensland Cup last year and he is only 19 years old. Let me read you some of his stats from last year's Queensland Cup. He broke over 3.3 tackles a game. Also, nearly 100 meters every single game. And we're talking about a guy who played roughly 40 minutes every game on average. So I'm telling you, this guy could get a start at some point during the year, whether it be to injury or to a lot of those representative players that Brisbane tend to have around origin time. Kevy Walder's probably looking to rest a few players during the year. And I tell you what, I'm so excited for this kid to potentially get his shot. The reason he's so far down my list at this point in time is the Broncos have made a couple of signings. They did lose Flegler, but they replaced him with Fletcher Baker from the Roosters. So it's tough for me to see a pathway for Takura with the likes of Xavier Willison and also Tapau still on the roster. But when this guy gets his chance, I tell you what, he could be another Payne Haas, and that is scary for the rest of the league, but good for the Broncos, and it could be good for Ben Takura, number 9 for rookies to watch this year. Moving right along and headed down south now for the number 8 position, where I have Jack Howarth from the Melbourne Storm. Jack is just 21 at this point in time and has played 36 games of Queensland Cup. He also played Australian schoolboys and is a former under 19s Queensland representative as well. Made his debut last year, so he has that one game of NRL in round 27 where he made 31 tackles and played over 60 minutes of football. Not bad for a bloke on debut. The thing about Jack is his size. Now, he comes from a rugby background where he played a lot of outside centre. And what we've seen with a lot of outside centres in the past is they're pretty good in the back row. Sonny Bill Williams, Sam Burgess, the kind of guys I'm talking about. And Jack has the size to back that up. He stands at 193 centimetres tall, so you can imagine the kicking target that he would be if he can get up the hops. Plus, he's also 105 kilos at this point in time, so he's a big boy. The only reason he's so low for me on this list at number 8 is the opportunity has diminished with that trade of Sean Blaw. Now, if Sean Blaw didn't come to the side, I pretty much think that Jack would be on the bench every single week for the Melbourne Storm, just behind Trent Liero and Eli Katoa down at the Storm. But with Sean Blaw being there, he is an exciting prospect as well and still quite young. I don't know if Jack is potentially going to get away into this side. He's probably going to have to beat out Sean Blaw in training camp or something in order to get a shot on the bench. But his way through this side is going to be through injury. Tarek Sims leaving as well is also going to help him there, but he needs to play at this point in time. You can't have him playing what will be his 4th year of Queensland Cup. If Jack probably doesn't lock down a interchange spot or a starting spot this year, then he's probably going to be looking for somewhere else to go. But I think he is an exciting prospect as well. So keep a lookout for Jack Howarth. All right, we're getting into it now. Number 7 on our list is a guy that I have had the pleasure to watch in person down at Henson Park, and it is, of course, Caded Dykes from the Cronulla Sharks. Now, Cade is an exciting prospect for a number of reasons. One, he did miss the entire 2023 season with an ACL injury. Definitely tough on his progression. He looked very good in the 2022 season when he stepped in for Will Kennedy when he got injured, scored 2 tries, and that is something that Cade can build on heading into this year. And I think the only reason he's down at number 7 for me is the opportunity there. Yes, there is maybe a bit of fluctuation in the outside backs for the Sharks, but they seem to want to go with that Sifa Talakai, Ramian Katoa, and Mulatalo combination with Will Kennedy at the back. And Will Kennedy isn't that old at this stage in his career. He's 26, with Cade being 22. It's tough because he is such a loved player and the name is known so well down in Cronulla because his father played for the Sharks and his grandfather also played for the Sharks. So Cade may be finding himself playing for the Jets again this year for a little bit at least. For me, it's his size. The one thing that goes in Cade's favour here is that he is an out-and-out tackle breaker. He stands at 187 centimetres tall and is also 90 kilos. So for a fullback, that is pretty decent size. We have some smaller fullbacks in the competition and they rely a lot on their agility and footwork. With Cade, he's a ball buster, man. He just runs through you. And The other thing with Cade is he can play 5'8". Now, that might be the opportunity for Cade if he can get into the side this year with Trindle having a good back end to last year, Moylan moving on. It's one of those things where if it doesn't work out early, I can see Fitzgibbon changing a few things around, and that could provide opportunity for Caded Dykes. Next up at the number 6 spot is a guy who made his debut in stunning fashion against the grand finalist Brisbane Broncos last year. And of course, I'm talking about Sua Fa'alongo from the Melbourne Storm. Now, a lot of predicted teams have this guy playing off the bench this year. And why wouldn't you? With the history that Pappenhausen has with injuries, I think Nick Meaney sticking around is also probably going to push him out of the team a little bit. But the electricity that this guy provided when he stepped onto the field for the Storm was unmatched by a lot of those players last year. The Storm were kind of meandering through the season. They had some very horrific losses, some very unlike the Storm losses, and they finished the season in a pretty mediocre fashion. You know, they got through the Roosters in week 1, and no one was predicting the Roosters to get as close as they did. And it took a great Will Warbrick try to bring them across the line. And then the next week they just got hammered. So it's one of those things where Melbourne need to figure out what their game plan is going to be this year. Hopefully Pappenhausen stays fit and they can start to become a bit more of the dominant team that we've seen in previous years. And Sua is going to play a big part in that. Plays a lot like Reece Walsh. And I know that is a big comparison at this point in his career, but the quickness off the mark, the stepping in and out of defenders, the energy, the general energy that he just brings to the team is something that I haven't seen for the Storm in a long time. Probably never. Probably since Billy Slater, it was very reminiscent last year when I was watching him play. He just has that, that X factor about him, and it's something where I feel like Bellamy's got to find a spot for him in the team to play. He's already played a bit of NRL, gotten the taste for it, and that's what Bellamy likes to do. He likes to put his rookies on the bench, get him a little bit salivating to play a bit more footy. He did that with Pappenhausen. I expect him to do it with Sua here in 2024. Alrighty, moving into the top 5 now, and at the number 5 spot, I've got Thomas Weaver from the Gold Coast Titans. Thomas plays halfback, which at this stage is going to be a little bit dicey in terms of him getting an opportunity, with Tanner Boyd being the incumbent and Kieran Foran potentially going into the last couple of years of his career, although we don't know too much. Desi has a good relationship with him, though, so I think he will stick with him. Weaver is only 20 at this stage of his career, but has played a few games of Queensland Cup. He's a bit small at 172 centimetres tall and only 77 kilos for a halfback. Think, a bit of a Sam Walker type. Did play 3 games last year. I think the big thing for Weaver is that he has been so talked about in the junior levels of the game. Played under 19s New South Wales a couple of years ago. He was actually born in Queensland, which I find very interesting as well. It's all going to be about whether Tanner Boyd can keep that spot and can keep the Titans rolling. They will be expecting a better year this year. And if it doesn't start well, especially for Desi being a new coach under pressure, then Weaver could get thrown in there. And I tell you what, he's a guy who's got great playmaking ability and a good kicking game. The only thing I would worry about with him is his size. He is a little bit on the small side, and making tackles is going to be a key at that level of the game. He may find a spot in the hooker ranks. I'm not exactly sure what the best strategy for the Titans is going to be at hooker this year. I mean, Chris Randall played a lot of hooker last year, but he's not exactly the most playmaking or attacking hooker. He's going to go in there and make his 35 tackles a game. So for Weaver, I think that's where he could potentially find a bit more opportunity and maybe even lock down a bench spot. Up next at number 4, I've got Tyrone Monroe from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, Tyrone is 19 at this point in his career and is the cousin of Josh Addo-Carr. So he'd be hoping that some of those speed genetics carry over in the family. I just think with Tyrone, the reason he's up here so high at 4 is that he is possibly the best out of a 3-way split for the wing position at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The right wing position is what I'm talking about. He played 7 games of New South Wales Cup last year and scored a very important try in the grand final of the winning team for South Sydney. So I've got a lot of faith in Tyrone at this stage of his career. He played 3 games of NRL, scored 3 tries as well. And I just think he was at that stage where he could have taken over that position. But South last year, they're a little bit of a mess. This year, they've got Jack Whiten coming into the centres, which could push Isaiah Tass out onto the wing. And they may do that with Isaiah. They've been, keeping him in the team for the last couple of years, but he hasn't necessarily locked down that centre spot. And they obviously feel like they needed a bit more oomph. So that's why they've signed Jack Whiten. So yeah, he could also become part of that battle, and it could be a 4-way battle for that right wing position. Isaac Thompson didn't knock it down last year. Richie Kenner, I'm neither here or there on, but Tyrone is an exciting prospect, and I hope that the South Sydney Rabbitohs go with Tyrone because he has the potential to become the fastest man in the league, and I'm not joking when I say that. We're talking Adokar, Jason Saab levels of speed, and this bloke is just a thrill to watch. He loves the game, and for a guy so young to come in and make an impact straight away, which he did, which is why a lot of people remember his name from last year when he did play. I think Tyrone could be starting for the Rabbitohs, and that's why I have him in the top 4. All right, the final 3. And at number 3, I've got a guy that I feel like we all know way too much about at this point, and that is Kalei Iro from the Cronulla Sharks. I tell you, I backed Kale to really go and grab that starting spot last year, but he had a bit of an up and down year with injury as well. By the time the season starts, Kale is going to be 24 this year, has played 43 games for the Newtown Jets at this stage, and is a former New South Wales Cup Player of the Year. And that is the reason that last year I had him going into the Cronulla Sharks and stealing that Sifa Talakai centre spot. The left centre is where he plays, and he is a monster to stop. He's 185 centimetres tall at 94 kilos, tackle breaks galore, and has a lot of speed in the tank as well. Just go look at his highlights from the 2022 New South Wales Cup season. He is beating blokes left, right, and centre. It's like he was playing against 6-year-olds at times for the Newtown Jets. I just think with KL, it's not really fallen his way, and unfortunately, I am a big fan of Kale. I think he should be playing in the centres or in the back line of some club. But just with Cronulla, they seem to not want to put him in the team. Last year, they preferred Connor Tracy. Now Connor Tracy's moved on. I just think with Caded Dykes being there as well, he's also fit again this year. Could potentially have KL back on the back burner, but I'm going to make a definitive statement. I'm going to say that KL comes in this year, makes an impact, and steals that centre spot from Sifa Talakai. I don't like the predicted teams that are coming out for the Sharks this year. I think with Wade Graham retiring, they should move Sifa Talakai to the bench where he can make a great impact, and then they can stick to a guy who has played a lot of centre at the junior levels of the game and at New South Wales Cup. I mean, like I said, former New South Wales Cup Player of the Year at centre. So why wouldn't you put him in there? He's clearly ready for NRL, and this is the last year of his contract as well, and he will be wanting to make an impact so that he can prove to the Sharks that they need to sign him on for another deal, or he's going to go somewhere else and have a good career. Getting down to the number 2 spot now, and it's a guy that I am super excited to watch this year because he plays for the North Queensland Cowboys. It's Zack Lutt. Now, Zack played 4 games of NRL last year and scored 3 tries, 2 on debut, and that was a great thing to watch. One thing I'd like to point out is Zack's size. He's 190 centimetres tall at 93 kilos, specialist centre, but also can play a bit of 5'8". Now, the big thing that I've done with this entire list is a lot of it is based on opportunity, and I think Zack has one of the best opportunities in the NRL for the rookies this year. The reason I say that is Peter Hiku's moved on. Now, that left centre spot is pretty much owned by Valentine Holmes, but the right centre position and right wing position, you could say, are pretty much up for grabs. Now, I'm hearing a lot of Murray Taulagi getting moved to that centre spot. I don't like that whatsoever. I like Murray on the wing, and I need him for kick returns as well. Look at me saying it like I own the team, but they are my team and I care a lot. So I think blooding a guy like Zack Lutt could do wonders for our team. He seems to be pretty solid in defense, and then also with those 5'8 skills, can maybe find the open man. Now, whether that winger is going to be Semi Valame or Kyle Felt, I'd say based on last year's form, we'll go with Semi Valame. But I just think with Kyle, he needs to be on the way out. And I love what he did for the club, and I have a very special place in my heart for Kyle Felt. But it's time where we need to think about getting younger as a team, and a winger position is probably where you need some young, quicker, faster guys in those positions. Yes, they can maybe give up a fair bit defensively, but Kyle Felt's done that a lot in his career. But we're not talking about Kyle, we're talking about Zack Lutt. Now, with Zack, he played 25 games over the last couple of years for the Blackhawks. And you know what? I liked what I saw last year. He's got a good tackle breaking ability. Like I said, can make his tackles. And I think the opportunity will come his way with Toddy Payton this year. New captains. And I'm thinking new right centre for the Queensland Cowboys, Zack Lutt. And now we get to the number one spot. And as I've said all the way through this video, guys, a lot of this is going to be based on opportunity. And I think this guy has possibly the biggest opportunity of them all as far as rookies are concerned, and that is Ethan Strange from the Canberra Raiders. Now, Ethan won the man of the match in the under-19 State of Origin match last year. He can play centre and 5'8". Now, that's very interesting for the Raiders because those are the positions that Jack Whiten used to make his own. Now, not saying that Ethan is going to be the next Jack Whiten, but there are a lot of similarities here. I try to move away from comparisons and let these rookies be themselves, but with Jack leaving such a hole in the Canberra Raiders, and the Canberra Raiders not expected to do too much this year, with Seb Chris having a bit of fullback experience last year, I expect Xavier Savage to come in and play the fullback spot. Whether Ethan can lock down that centre spot or the 5'8 spot. Now, the 5'8 spot for me, for the Canberra Raiders, is the interesting one, and I think Ethan could be the guy. Now, he's going to be a running half if he's going to get in there, but so was Jack Whiten. And up right now, he's up against KO Weeks, who they've just brought to the club. And KO is a completely different type of player. KO is a bit more, speed friendly, a bit more agility, relies on his, ability to be elusive and get out of tackles. A good playmaker, but I just think at the NRL level, we've seen KO, he struggled in the defensive department. And that's something that I don't think Ethan will have too much trouble with at 99 kilos and 190 centimeters tall. So I just think with Ethan Strange, the opportunity is going to be in that 5'8 spot. Now, whether Jamal Fogarty gets a better relationship with him or KO going, I'm seeing a lot of predicted teams coming out with KO Weeks playing in the 5'8 role, with Ethan playing at center for the first round at least. So, yeah, I think Ethan, being the prospect that he is, maybe could soften the blow of Jack Whiten leaving, which is something that I'm hoping for the Raiders because everyone wants to see the Raiders in the finals. They're a good team to watch. Ricky is always lively out on the bench, and he likes to give young players a shot, but he tends to not stick with them for too long, and we've seen that with Xavier Savage over the last couple of years. But rounding out our list, I think Ethan Strange could be the guy to pick up this year in your fantasy or Supercoach comp, as he will have a lot of opportunity for the Raiders. So that is it for the video, guys. Let me know what you think about my top 10 down in the comments section below. Please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. We bring out so much content all the time, guys. We've got a lot of fantasy coming up. Please hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and I'll catch you on the next one.